The sun had barely risen over Sydney when the sky darkened with the silhouette of alien ships. The tranquility of the morning was shattered by the ominous hum of engines and the panic-stricken cries of citizens. Ethan Drummond, a former Australian Navy strategist, watched from his balcony, his military instincts immediately kicking in. "Ethan, what's happening?" his wife, Sarah, asked, clutching their young son, Oliver, close. "It's an invasion," Ethan replied grimly. "Get inside and stay away from the windows." The alien ships, sleek and metallic, hovered menacingly above the city. Within minutes, a holographic image projected itself into the sky, displaying a figure with a stern, almost regal demeanor. "People of Earth," the alien commander announced, "we are the Vorak. Surrender now, and your lives will be spared. Resist and face annihilation." Ethan's mind raced. The Vorak were not an enemy to be underestimated. He had read reports of their conquests on distant planets, their advanced technology, and ruthless tactics. But surrender was not an option. He grabbed his phone and called an old friend. "Jane, it's Ethan. You see this?" "Yeah, I see it." "What are we going to do?" "We fight," Ethan said, determination hardening his voice. "Meet me at the old Navy base. We need to organize." Leaving Sarah and Oliver was the hardest thing he had ever done, but Ethan knew that he had to act. He raced through the streets of Sydney, now a chaotic mess of people fleeing and buildings crumbling under the initial assault. At the base, Ethan found Jane Murray waiting for him. A tough, no-nonsense woman, Jane had been a commander in the Navy and was someone Ethan trusted implicitly. "Good to see you, Ethan," Jane said, her expression grim. "What's the plan?" "We need to gather intel and form a resistance. The Vorak have superior technology, but they have weaknesses. We need to find them and exploit them." The base, though outdated, was still functional. They activated old communication channels, reaching out to former colleagues and allies. Within hours, a small but determined group of ex-military personnel and civilians with technical expertise began to assemble. Ethan took charge, outlining their strategy. "Our first priority is to understand their technology. We need scouts to gather information, hackers to infiltrate their systems, and fighters ready to defend key locations." A young hacker named Leo stepped forward. "I've been monitoring their signals. They use a decentralized network, but if we can capture one of their communication devices, we might be able to decode it." "Good work, Leo," Ethan said. "Jane, take a team and see what you can find. We need that device." As the day wore on, Ethan coordinated the efforts, each hour bringing more urgency as the Vorak tightened their grip on the city. Despite the chaos, he could see the glimmers of hope in the determination of those around him. The first major skirmish came at dusk. Jane's team had managed to secure a Vorak communication device, but it came at a cost. 2 of their members were injured, and the Vorak forces were now aware of their resistance efforts. "Ethan, we've got it," Jane said, handing over the device, her face etched with exhaustion and resolve. "Great work. Get those men to the med bay," Ethan replied, taking the device to Leo. "Can you decode this?" "Already on it," Leo said, his fingers flying over the keyboard. "Give me a few minutes." As Leo worked, Ethan gathered the team. "The Vorak think they can crush us with their technology, but they underestimate the human spirit. We will fight, we will resist, and we will find a way to win." Just then, Leo looked up, his face pale. "Ethan, you need to see this." On the screen was a blueprint of the Vorak mothership, showing a weakness in its shield system. It was a small vulnerability, but it was a start. "This is it," Ethan said, feeling a surge of hope. "We can use this." The old Navy base buzzed with newfound energy. Ethan Drummond stood at the center, his mind focused on the plans rapidly unfolding. The Vorak threat had galvanized the small group into action, each member determined to reclaim their city. "Ethan, I've got more people joining us," Jane Murray reported. She had just returned from a scouting mission, her usually calm demeanor now laced with urgency. Civilians mostly, but some with military training. "Good," Ethan replied. "We need everyone we can get." In a makeshift command center, Leo hunched over his laptop, fingers dancing across the keys. The Vorak communication device lay beside him, wires snaking out and connecting to various screens displaying streams of alien code. "Ethan, I think I've cracked part of their encryption," Leo said, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "This device could give us a tactical advantage if we can decode their communication protocols." "Excellent work, Leo. Keep at it," Ethan encouraged. He turned to Jane. "We need to secure more resources. Our current supplies won't last if we have to endure a prolonged siege." Jane nodded. "I'll lead a team to scavenge what we can. Medical supplies, food, weapons, anything useful." As Jane organized her team, Ethan gathered the remaining members. "Listen up, everyone. The Vorak have superior firepower, but we have something they don't: determination and the element of surprise. We'll use guerrilla tactics, hit and run operations to disrupt their operations and gather intel." A murmur of agreement rippled through the group. Among them was Samira, a former combat medic who had been instrumental in treating the wounded from their earlier skirmish. "Samira, can you oversee the medical needs? Make sure we're ready for any casualties," Ethan asked. "Absolutely," Samira replied, her voice steady. "I'll set up a triage area and ensure we have the necessary supplies." With plans in motion, the resistance began to coalesce into a functional unit. Every member had a role, their skills contributing to the collective effort. Hours turned into days as they prepared for the inevitable confrontations. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow over the city, Jane's team returned from a supply run, their expressions grim. "Ethan, we ran into Vorak patrols," Jane said, her voice tight. "They've increased their ground presence. It's getting harder to move undetected." "We'll have to adapt," Ethan replied. "Did you manage to get what we need?" Jane nodded. "Barely. It seems to be a communication hub." "Perfect," Ethan said, his mind already formulating a plan. "If we can take control of that hub, we might disrupt their operations and buy ourselves more time." The team gathered around a large map of the city, marking the outpost location. Ethan detailed the mission, assigning roles and outlining contingencies. "We strike at dawn. Jane, lead the assault team. Leo, you'll monitor their communications and provide real-time intel. Samira, be ready to handle any injuries." As the night wore on, tension filled the air. The resistance members checked and rechecked their equipment, mentally preparing for the battle ahead. Ethan walked among them, offering words of encouragement and final instructions. At first light, the assault team moved out, navigating the rubble-strewn streets with practiced stealth. The city, now a battleground, bore the scars of previous encounters. They approached the Vorak outpost, its alien architecture stark against the urban backdrop. Jane signaled for the team to halt. "Stay sharp. We go in fast and hard. No mistakes." The team advanced, silencing guards and disabling security measures with precision. As they breached the central command room, alarms blared, and a firefight erupted. The Vorak, though caught off guard, responded with fierce resistance. Jane were pinned down. One of the team members shouted, ducking behind cover. "Hold your positions," Jane ordered. "Ethan, we need reinforcements." Back at the base, Ethan monitored the situation through a portable comms unit. "Hang tight, Jane. Reinforcements are on the way." Just as the team seemed overwhelmed, a secondary squad arrived, flanking the Vorak forces and turning the tide of battle. The resistance fighters pushed forward, securing the outpost. Jane rushed to the main console, connecting Leo to the Vorak network. "We're in. Leo, do your thing." Leo's fingers flew over the keyboard, accessing the alien systems. "I've got it. Disrupting their communications now." The screens flickered, and a series of explosions rocked the outpost as the Vorak network began to collapse. The resistance had struck a significant blow, but Ethan knew this was just the beginning. As they regrouped and prepared to fall back to the base, Jane looked at Ethan, determination burning in her eyes. "We've shown them we're not going down without a fight." Ethan nodded. "This is just the start. We'll keep pushing until we drive them out of our city." The success of the Vorak outpost raid invigorated the resistance, but it also escalated the stakes. The Vorak, now aware of the human defiance, began intensifying their patrols and tightening their grip on Sydney. Ethan Drummond, however, saw this as an opportunity. If they could achieve a significant victory, it would rally more people to their cause. Ethan stood at the heart of their makeshift command center, surrounded by maps and screens displaying real-time data. The communication disruption had given them a temporary advantage, but he knew it wouldn't last. "Ethan, we've decoded more of the Vorak transmissions," Leo said, his eyes bright with discovery. "There's a supply convoy heading to their main base. If we can intercept it, we can cripple their operations and gain valuable resources." Ethan nodded thoughtfully. "Good work, Leo. Jane, gather the team. We're going to hit that convoy." Jane Murray, ever the strategist, quickly organized the assault team. "We'll need to move fast and strike hard. This convoy is heavily guarded." As they prepared, Ethan pulled Jane aside. "This mission is critical. We can't afford any mistakes." Jane met his gaze, her eyes steely with resolve. "We won't fail, Ethan." The team moved out at dusk, the streets of Sydney eerily quiet. They navigated through back alleys and abandoned buildings, avoiding Vorak patrols. Tension hung heavy in the air as they approached the convoy's route. Leo's voice crackled over the comms. "Convoy approaching. 5 trucks, heavily armed escort." Ethan signaled for the team to take positions. They waited in silence, the hum of the Vorak vehicles growing louder. As the convoy rounded a corner, Ethan gave the signal. "Now!" Explosions rocked the street as the resistance fighters launched their attack. The first truck was engulfed in flames, and chaos erupted. The Vorak soldiers, caught off guard, scrambled to respond. Jane led the charge, her precision and tactical acumen turning the tide in their favor. The resistance fighters moved with practiced efficiency, taking down the Vorak guards and securing the convoy. Ethan focused on the lead truck, where he suspected the most valuable supplies were stored. He approached cautiously, covering the driver who lay slumped over the controls. As he opened the cargo hold, his eyes widened at the sight of advanced Vorak weaponry and communication devices. "We've hit the jackpot," Ethan muttered, quickly relaying the find to the team. "Secure the area and load everything we can." As they worked, a desperate urgency fueled their movements. The Vorak wouldn't let this loss go unchallenged. They needed to extract quickly and get back to the base. "Ethan, we've got company," Jane shouted, pointing to the sky where Vorak reinforcements were descending. "Fall back. Get the trucks moving," Ethan ordered, covering the retreat with a barrage of fire. The convoy roared to life, and the resistance fighters piled into the remaining trucks. Ethan and Jane took the last vehicle, driving through the narrow streets with Vorak ships hot on their tail. "We're not gonna make it," a voice crackled over the radio. "Hold steady," Ethan commanded. "Leo, we need that EMP now." Back at the base, Leo had been preparing a makeshift electromagnetic pulse device. "It's ready, but it'll only give us a few minutes." "Do it!" Ethan shouted. A high-pitched whine filled the air as the EMP activated. The Vorak ships faltered, their systems temporarily disabled. The convoy sped through the streets, reaching the relative safety of the base just as the Vorak began to recover. As they unloaded the captured supplies, Ethan felt a surge of relief and triumph. This victory was not just a tactical gain, it was a symbol of their resilience and determination. Jane approached, her face smudged with dirt but alight with pride. "We did it, Ethan. This will make a huge difference." Ethan nodded, placing a hand on her shoulder. "We've shown them we can fight back. But we have to stay vigilant. They'll come at us harder now." The resistance members cheered as they distributed the captured supplies, their morale bolstered by the success. Ethan knew they had to capitalize on this momentum. Gathering the core team, he laid out the next steps. "We need to fortify our defenses and prepare for a counterattack. Leo, work on integrating these Vorak devices into our systems. Jane, continue scouting for any more weak points we can exploit." The resistance base hummed with activity. After their recent victory, morale was high, but Ethan Drummond knew the Vorak would retaliate with unprecedented force. He gathered his core team in the command center, the room charged with a mix of anticipation and tension. "All right, we've got their attention now," Ethan began, his voice steady but firm. "The Vorak will come at us hard. We need to be ready. Leo, eyes glued to his computer screen, interjected. I've been analyzing the data from the captured devices. There's a critical weakness in their mothership's shield generator. If we can disable it, we might have a shot at taking them down. Ethan nodded, feeling a glimmer of hope. Good work, Leo. Jane, we'll need a team to infiltrate the mothership. It's a high-risk mission, but it could turn the tide. Jane's face hardened with determination. We're ready. We'll do whatever it takes. Ethan turned to Samira. We'll need a medbay prepped for casualties. This mission won't be easy. Samira nodded, her expression resolute. I'll have everything ready. As the team dispersed to prepare, Ethan took a moment to reflect. Each member of the resistance had shown incredible bravery and resilience. They were not just fighting for survival, but for the future of humanity. The night before the mission, Ethan gathered the team for a final briefing. The plan was simple but perilous. A small strike team would infiltrate the mothership and disable the shield generator, while the rest of the resistance created diversions across the city to distract the Vorak forces. Remember, this is for all of us, Ethan said, his voice filled with conviction. We fight not just to survive, but to win back our world. At dawn, the strike team moved out, navigating the war-torn streets under the cover of darkness. Ethan, Jane, Leo, and a handful of seasoned fighters made their way to the outskirts of the city, where the Vorak mothership loomed ominously. Approaching the target, Leo whispered, his voice crackling over the comms. Stay sharp. The team breached the perimeter, taking out the guards with silent precision. Inside the mothership, the air was thick with an alien metallic scent, and the corridors were bathed in an eerie blue light. Follow me, Ethan instructed, leading the way through the labyrinthine passages. The plan hinged on reaching the shield generator quickly and without raising an alarm. Suddenly, the corridor split, and a Vorak patrol appeared. Take cover! Ethan hissed, but it was too late. A firefight erupted, the sounds of gunfire and alien weapons echoing through the halls. Ethan, we're pinned down, Jane shouted, returning fire from behind a column. Leo, can you find another route? Ethan called out. Working on it, Leo replied, furiously typing into his portable device. There's a maintenance shaft 2 corridors down. It should bypass this section. Go, I'll hold them off, Ethan commanded, firing at the Vorak to cover the team's retreat. Jane grabbed Ethan's arm. No, we do this together. Ethan glanced at her, then nodded. All right, fall back to the shaft. The team sprinted down the corridor, diving into the maintenance shaft just as more Vorak reinforcements arrived. The narrow passageway led them deeper into the heart of the mothership. We're close, Leo said, checking his device. The shield generator room is just ahead. As they approached the room, they encountered heavy resistance. The Vorak had fortified their position, knowing the importance of the generator. Jane, take the left flank. Leo, find a way to disable the security systems. We'll need every advantage, Ethan ordered. The battle was fierce, each member of the strike team fighting with a desperation born of necessity. As Jane led a daring charge to draw fire, Leo managed to hack into the security system, causing the lights to flicker and the automated defenses to shut down momentarily. This is our chance, Ethan shouted. Push forward. With a final, concerted effort, they breached the generator room. Ethan and Jane planted explosives on the massive humming device. Set the timers for 5 minutes. That should give us enough time to get clear, Ethan said, his voice tense but focused. Timer set, Jane confirmed. Let's move. As they retreated, the Vorak forces regrouped, pursuing them through the corridors. The team fought their way back to the extraction point, the sound of the mothership's alarms blaring around them. Ethan, we've got incoming, Leo warned as they neared the exit. We're almost there. Keep moving, Ethan urged, firing back at the pursuing Vorak. Just as they reached the extraction point, the explosives detonated. A massive shockwave rocked the mothership, sending Vorak soldiers flying and causing structural damage throughout the ship. The resistance fighters dove into their escape vehicle, the roar of the mothership's imminent collapse echoing behind them. As they sped away, Ethan looked back, watching as the mighty Vorak vessel began to falter, flames and debris spewing from its sides. "We did it," Jane said, her voice filled with awe and exhaustion. Ethan nodded, a sense of triumph washing over him. "This is just the beginning. We've shown them what we're capable of. Now, we fight to reclaim our world."